Good morning. I'm Elsbeth Yang. I'm a director at Patriots for Minorities. It's the 20th of February 2021. You will remember that I asked 2 weeks ago for support for Flippie's case. We were going down to Scottsboro and I asked people to support us, and I want to thank everybody that made some contribution. We really appreciate it. But I'm back from Scottsboro now, and I don't want to talk so much about Flippie because much was said about Flippie this week. And if you want to see him in action and hear his story, you're welcome to have a look at the Loving Life broadcast of 2 hours this week, where everything was described. It's very disturbing. It's not for sensitive viewers, but you can follow the case there. The purpose of this morning's interview is just to report back on the court case itself. No evidence surrounding it, but the court case itself. We finished with the first witness, which is Mr. Doobie. Mr. Doobie is the guy that attacked Flippie on his farm with a panga. And he then went to the police and laid a charge against Flippie, and now Flippie are prosecuted. He's prosecuted because his dogs bit the attacker when the dogs tried to protect Flippie. Now at this stage there are 3 versions before court. Doobie has 3 different versions of the incident. One version is his police statement on the docket, where he laid a charge against Flippie and where he gave one version of the day's happenings. The second version is his evidence in chief, which was led by the prosecutor, and where he placed sort of another version before the court. And then we started with cross-examination, and a third version was placed before court. So on the last day we tried to get all the strings together, and the advocate Van Dyk asked him which version is the truth, because we are dealing now with 3 different versions. So Doobie said, now there's a 4th affidavit at the police, and if that was before court, everything would have been clear. So we started with a trial, and we got the policeman that was implicated by this 4th affidavit. He denied that there was any such 4th affidavit. He even said that he read Doobie's first affidavit to him, and he was pleased with it, and he said he had nothing more to add. So there is no 4th affidavit. And then we were finished with Doobie's evidence. There was a few humorous incidents in re-examination by the prosecutor, because he doesn't know that he is not allowed to ask leading questions to his own witness, so there was objections. And but in any case, we started with the next state witness, and he came with a 4th version. So it is getting interesting. It's clear that the state has so many versions before court that I think none of the versions will stand at the end. But it's too early to make a decision, but it looks very good for Flippie at this stage. A disturbing factor that came out during the last day, which was placed before court by the second witness and was emphasized by the prosecutor. He asked him to repeat it over and over as if he wants to make a point about it. And I think that is the problem of many farms in South Africa, is a misconception of ownership in South Africa. As you know, a farm has a border. It's normally fenced in, and it has a gate or 2 gates or more gates depending on the size of the farm, but it has access gates to the farm. So the whole farm within that border is the property of the farm owner. Then there's a practice in South Africa to enclose your homestead around the house. The garden and the house and the outer buildings are also fenced in with a second fence with also an access gate. This is to keep the farm animals like cattle and sheep out of your garden, but it normally has a security effect as well to protect you with electric fence or alarms and beams or something like that to protect you in the evening. So there's a second fence around the homestead. Let's call it the homestead fence. And then there's a third barrier, and that is your doors and your security doors and your burglar alarms and your burglar proving in front of your windows. So you have 3 barriers before you get in your house. The first is a farm fence, then a homestead fence, and then the house itself. The community don't disregard Flippie's house. They will even go so far to allow him his homestead, but that is the end of his property ownership. The rest is common property. And what this guy was testifying is that the dogs bit Dube outside of his homestead in public property on a public road. But this was on Flippie's farm and on a farm road, which is not a public road. But he was so convinced that that is public property and a public road because according to the whole community, Flippie's farm ends at the homestead. We have his title deed available, and when Flippie come and testify, we'll clear up that uncertain point. But if the prosecutor and the police and the witnesses had any idea of how ownership in South Africa worked, it would have saved a lot of money and a lot of trouble in this matter. So that is a very interesting point one must look at. And I think it's also a problem on other farmers' lands. They don't regard your outer borders as your property, only your homestead. That doesn't avoid them from intervening into your homestead and even into your house, but that's another matter for discussion. So this matter continues in April, on the 13th, 14th and 15th of April. So anybody that wants to attend this matter, it's getting very interesting, it's exciting. You're welcome to attend it. It's an open court. 13th, 14th and 15th of April. And with that, I wish you all a very nice weekend. Goodbye.